Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing? Especially you, Fletcher. Fletcher sent in this video. It seems kind of fascinating. I mean, I just learned yesterday that Hong Kong at one point was a British colony. Which, I mean, I guess that's kind of embarrassing to say I just learned that yesterday, but hey, you learn something new every day. Apparently, it was handed back to China in 1997, which is what this video depicts. It depicts Prince Charles handing Hong Kong back to China. And I'm trying to figure out, I assume Prince Charles is now, Charles III, King Charles. So I think that's who I'm going to watch here hand back Hong Kong to China. A particularly interesting part of it is that Fletcher says, it was a sad day, and most of the people of Hong Kong and Britain wept. Which is an interesting, it's just sort of fascinating. It's kind of hard for me to fully understand those emotions. I guess I don't know how Hong Kong was before being handed back to China. And there's nothing really comparable to that in American history. So, but apparently it was a very emotional event, which is kind of fascinating. And I want to watch this video here by the BBC, Chinese BBC, of this happening on this day. Quite an interesting day in history, I think.
They left to the call of trumpets echoing across the Pearl River, a long goodbye that ended with a wave. It is Britannia's last voyage, the epilogue of empire.
I mean, I'm really curious what preceded all this, what led up to Hong Kong being transferred back. I really don't know any of that history.
This most singular of days began with the most typical of Hong Kong summer weather, heat and the promise of rain. And yet the rain was but a mild distraction, for as the last governor left his residence, the sense of occasion, of emotion, was palpable. This was a moment he had long prepared for, and yet when the last post was sounded, Governor Chris Patten struggled to contain his feelings.
So he was the British governor of Hong Kong. I want to know more about this history because that's kind of just, it's so interesting to think. A British governor of Hong Kong.
The governor is a lover of the pipes, and this Highland Cathedral his favourite tune. The house and the city he must leave,
Wow.
but the flag that is his personal standard travels home with the last governor.
Wow, that actually that gave me chills right there. That's quite a ceremony, handing him the flag that's just been lowered.
His daughters watched, captivated by the moment of history. As the governor left, he held to an old tradition, driving 3 times around the house. It is a Chinese tradition, a promise that says, "I will return."
Wow.
And so the gates closed and the
I think I saw a random Australian flag.
policemen prepare themselves to serve new masters. The house will become a museum.
Is the museum still there?
For the departing British, this
I could imagine how that'd be very, very scary for the people of Hong Kong in particular, just because of mainly the unknown. I mean, basically your government is just being transferred like that. That would certainly be hard to even imagine.
was not a retreat, but a proud march homewards. Now, said Governor Patton, it was time for Hong Kong people to seize their own future.
It has been the greatest honor and privilege of my life to share your home for 5 years and to have some responsibility for your future. Now, Hong Kong people are to run Hong Kong. That is the promise, and that is the unshakable destiny.
I assume this is obviously the inception of, you know, the current system, which is what is it? God, it's like two parties, one state, 2 states, 1 party. Let me see if I get this right. 1 country, 2 systems. Where Hong Kong is, and as of more recently, it's become less so separated. But at this time, which I don't know if that's considered them breaking this promise that he's referring to right here. But at this time, it was, they were returning Hong Kong to China under the condition that it would live under a separate system than mainland China.
After that, emotion could no longer be contained.
I guess when I say, I'm thinking earlier what I said, you know, it's hard for me to understand the emotion. I fully understand his emotion. I fully understand the people of Hong Kong's emotion, the British people's emotion in general. I'm not saying it's like unwarranted. I'm just saying it is interesting to imagine, you know, feeling such a connection with people so far away and such a different culture, to where the people of Britain are weeping. Interesting.
It was Queen Victoria who ruled when Britain seized Hong Kong. Tonight her descendant helped to give it back.
Unprecedented though this moment in history may be, we have the utmost confidence.
So that's Charles. Hopefully I'm not being stupid in saying that, but that looks like Charles. He's got a hat on, so it's hard to say for 100% certainty, but I believe
in
so.
the abilities and resilience of the Hong Kong
Sounds like him.
people. Britain learnt long ago that Hong Kong people know best what is good for Hong Kong.
And then the skies exploded with noise and colour. The last rites of imperialism finished with, the departing power staged a carnival of light. The generation who will grow to adulthood as Chinese citizens looked on in wonder.
So the people of Hong Kong weren't even Chinese citizens before this.
And then at the stroke of midnight, history...
Okay, evidently that's not the Australian flag. It just resembles it. It's got an emblem here. That must be the flag of... Was that the old flag of Hong Kong?
edged Hong Kong out of the arms of Britain. A century and a half of imperial rule ended with the lowering of the Union flag.
Union flag.
For China, this was a moment of pride. For their leaders, an end to what they call an age of shame and humiliation.
Wow.
No longer His Excellency the Governor, but now plain Mr. Patton, he left the new rulers to their celebrations. On board Britannia, there were tender caresses for his daughters.
Tonight, as Britannia sails away behind me, it is hard to imagine an age when men from Britain got into wooden boats to sail halfway around the world. Back then, Hong Kong was a desolate, a forlorn place, the most improbable of all Britain's imperial adventures, and yet it was to become the Empire's brightest prize. Fergal Keane,
Really?
BBC News, Hong Kong.
I mean, what a beautiful state. Hong Kong. I guess that does make sense.
The People's Republic of China.
Well, there you go. Honestly, totally fascinating. Totally fascinating. And does explain, or at least I think it explains. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it all. But it does explain a little bit more about, you know, the more recent events in Hong Kong and the protests, and as mainland China seizes more power within Hong Kong, and how the two systems, one country came to be. One country, two systems. I think that's fascinating. Wow. Well, I'm very glad that I have a little bit more of an understanding of the world that we live in. So thank you for sending that in, and thank you for watching. It's a crazy world we live in. Okay. That was emotional. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.